Today's today's June 29th, 2023, and what I've noticed today is something that I did not formulate in the past, and I've seen this I've seen this with other traders, but I did not own it. Uh, when I own it, I have to pay for it. I have to put a lot of I have to put an enormous amount of money into it, a money that is so substantial that it finally breaks through and then brings back the meaning into my life. And unless that happens, then I will essentially just repeat, uh, just bouncing off the surface, not understanding the lesson the market is attempting to teach me. So, a curious thing happened today. I was on demo trading Boeing. And towards the close, it actually was in a channel. It was in a channel that was too small for me to trade. Uh, it was small for me to trade. So it was essentially going sideways, but in a channel. Now, in order for me to make any type of money from trading, I have to have a substantial movement, an indicator that tells me that it is about to move into a particular direction. Of course, there's a thing called like fake outs and things like that, where it sets up and it attempts to move in a particular direction, but it really doesn't and reverses and go the other direction. That's exactly where the stop loss is required. Now, having identified that particular situation is one example of me entering into a trade that has a specific identification, a name to a particular setup, which is essentially called a range bound breakout. Okay, range breakout, range breakout. And so when there is a significant signal that defines its movement in a particular direction based on its current situation, and then it moves into a different situation where it highlights the possibility that the stock will move, then a stock like Boeing will do that. It will not stay range bound for very long. Maybe towards the end of the day, it'll just trade for maybe an hour or two towards the end of the day, which is highly likely unless it is in a very all day trend up kind of a situation. So what that has given me is it is essentially given me proof. It has given me evidence. It has clearly defined the thing that I need to concentrate on so that I can create uh, a bag of tricks. Essentially, that is one sign. I can say to myself, "Oh, look, I see this. It's called range breakout." And I'm sure a lot of other professional day traders use that. And there could be other signals that enhances that particular setup. And when that particular setup is more refined, when other supporting situations supports that, like let's say that the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq is about to move up, but it is specifically set within a range bound situation on a temporary basis, and the Nasdaq and the Dow are moving up, which means that there is a high probability that the range bound situation will be moving up. The other part is, let's say that the volume weighted average was right at the top of that range bound situation, and when it starts to break out, it means that it is breaking through the resistance. And when it does that, and also there could be a higher volume that's entering into the market. And those are the situations that I can add together to formulate a higher and higher probability that particular situation will become a higher probability trade. And so building that credibility for a particular stock is easier. It seems to be easier for most people when they have more time to analyze such that they could look at it beforehand to adjust to see the setups that will occur and say, okay, I'm seeing this situation for the stock. And when I see this particular characteristics, I can put these together, wrap it around, and then prepare myself before the actual event occurs, such that I can take that formulation and integrate it into that particular setup and say the high probability is going to be higher, and therefore I could risk more. I could have a tighter stop loss that allows me to make a greater and better trade in my trade. And this seems to be a breakthrough to the other side of, see, this is my day trading channel. I have zero intention of monetizing anything that I do in day trading channel right now. I have placed faith in some of the videos because the Spirit of Jesus Christ is in me. So I put that in there. And the other part is I may opt to maybe sell some t-shirts later on, but only if. And most likely I will not, even if I become a massively consistently profitable day trader, I will not open up a channel or some sort of training group, whatever, or whatever that is. That is not something that I pray to God that I will never venture into that the revenue stream. Let other people take care of that, and I pray that I'm just there to make money from the market. And if I am able to make a revenue from something, maybe selling t-shirts or maybe shirts or something like that, right? So the primary objective of this YouTube channel is for me to prove to myself that I can, on a consistent basis, make money from the market. That is the primary objective. And therefore, this seems to be the lift-off point, at which point that I am going to transition past into the stage 3 area of becoming a consistently profitable day trader. Stage 1, again, I'm going to reiterate, I'm going to keep saying this as I transition. I'm transitioning. I am becoming a consistently profitable day trader, however long it takes. I am not a consistently profitable day trader now, but I am moving in that direction, however long it takes, and I'm going to get there. So when I look at a particular situation where a candle is very, so I can look at, so this is fascinating. So what is a range bound situation, right? Range bound situation could be possibly that within a single candle of 1 minute window, it could be popping up and down like that and finish. And so essentially it's range bound. It's range bound within that single candle. A candle with a small little middle part of it is essentially a range bound situation. It's not an evening star. It's a abandoned baby or whatever it is. That's what it's called, right? The stocks come down, and then there is a cross at the bottom, and then starts to lift off. So at the bottom of it, on a single candle, there is a range bound situation. It's a range bound situation. Within that range bound situation, then when it moves, when it has a specific situation where it hints at a specific gain with a specific candle that has a reverse tendency, then that reverse tendency could have certain length to that factor. And when I enter based on that signal, it allows me to start making money. That is how it's done. And also, when that range bound situation is there, but if the candle is continuing with the bigger red candle, that means it has a higher probability that it's going to continue on that move to a downward trajectory. And therefore, I have to be more careful about that. So one a setup is range breakout. That's one. I'm elaborating it. So essentially it's a range breakout. So I'm going to now specifically identify and craft and piece together the specific trading patterns that are out there that will allow me to trade well. Now I'm going to it feels like I'm gonna have to keep practicing about the stop losses is very, very important. Stop loss is going to help me maintain my trading account to survive and move forward. Now I need to identify, I need to, I need to essentially become incredibly well rehearsed, practiced in the trading setups that I have, uh, that I will have in my pocket. And when I see that particular situation then I can take advantage of it and I can adjust my trading based on the experiences that I have and knowing the probability of that stock moving in that direction is going to be higher than 50-50. If it's 80%, then I can essentially, uh, if the probability is higher and higher and higher, then the rewards will be immensely great. As the risk, even though even though the situation is the same, the risk is lower. Then I can raise my risk. Okay, the risk that I inject, and the risk is lower, so I can raise my risk in that situation. And also working with the stop loss will allow me to make a significant gain. So the first, I would say um, so this would be essentially a third. This would be this would be actually this would be the first setup that I've clearly defined. I've dabbled into dip and rip and rip and dip. Essentially, what happens is that uh, there is another situation where the stock will, at a certain point, a dip, and then it'll start to rip. And that means that when I get into a situation where I catch on to the low point of the trades, then I can enter it and ride up to the rip, which could last all day, and that tends to happen. That happens quite often, and I've seen that to be rewarding in many of the instances, and I have to identify that as well. The other part is when a I haven't done my own research to figure out what the statistical probability of a trend day is. Apparently, 20% of the week is based on a trend day. Apparently, one day out of the week, there is at least one day that will trend uh, statistically from beginning to the end. And I've seen that occur many, many times. And if I am on the right side of that right trending day, the day could be a massive, massive gainer. I mean, it could be. So there are situations where. So these are things that I need to be cognizant of. And the other part is so essentially I have approximately about three setups that I could use now. I can identify, and as long as I craft it and figure out what the supporting ideas are to refine these setups, then these refined setups will allow me to make a immense impact in my P&L. So, a Catholic deacon was kind enough to ask me to mop the office. And that is one way of thanking the Catholic deacon who essentially gave me a life. Uh, See, I'm like extremely frightened to work anywhere else because I have to pay restitution for the next 8 more years. If I don't pay that restitution, then it's of unemployment. There's no explanation. There's no way to explain it. Okay, so I was so thankful, and I was so thankful of this Catholic deacon for giving me a job as a dishwasher. And now he's asking me to clean the floor of the office, of which I can say to him and say, hey, I'll do it for free. Okay. And I scrubbed it with a wire brush and mopped it a few times, not just once, but a couple of times to make sure that the floor, which has a degreaser and some sort of detergents in it, so that it takes the concrete floor, which is a colored concrete floor, to seep in and get the oil. Years of neglect to be removed from that office, and I was able to clean it, and thankfully I told him, hey, I will do that for this restaurant, and one condition, that I do not get paid for that 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 activity that I did, which turned out to be great. And so where was I? So essentially, um, essentially, I am very, very thankful of this particular situation. Now, after, now, essentially, I, now it's, what is that? It must be like over 2 years now as a day trader. And now I'm finally understanding, after so many years of studying and understanding, trying to see what's happening, that there is a sequence of things that occur. There are things that occur in the pattern that repeats. Now, um, Tim Sykes is a very controversial individual. I mean, he was on like national TV, business TV, buttoned up TV. He's there with his shorts, and he brought these two ladies of the night, and then started to discuss about stocks. I mean, that's the kind of individuals. But he said this. He said this: patterns repeat. And I bought his course. I think it was like a $250 course. Like what was that? Like 8 years ago. Okay, I looked through it. I couldn't understand it. It was just whew, way over my head. I'm sure there's a lot of people who understand what's going on, and it's truthful and it's valid. I'm deeply thankful that he's allowed me to explore this world of day trading. Now, now, after all these years, I'm beginning to now understand that how trading works. It's quite simple. Um, it's a nutshell. Trading in a nutshell is this. Trading in a nutshell is essentially identifying, for instance, i.e., a channel. It's a channel. Once I identify that channel, that channel will have a movement up or down. And that has been described in YouTube everywhere, and I've glanced over it, looked over it, I saw it, I reviewed it. I just totally, the concepts that many professional day traders talk about, it just bounced off my mind. It just evaporated, because the gambling part of the ego, the self, could not separate myself from accepting the information, the truthful information that has been given to me, so that I then afterwards I can analyze it, I can see it, and then make sense of it and use it in my own trading. To own it. To own it. I have to own it. Washing dishes has taught me first of all, it gave me this, okay? It just gave me that, all right? So I have another one here. These are two guns. So, and my shoulders, like lifting like 40, 50-pound buckets, like I water. On the patio, there's an area where there's flowers on the walls and on the ground, on the concrete floor, in a flower vase, right? And so what I do is I take this 40-pound water, because the hose that's connected to the back is not working properly, and so I have to take this water from inside the restaurant, walk it all over this 40-pound bucket full of water, and then dump it in there. I do that 4 or 5 times each day to water it thoroughly so that when the customers comes over, they can smell the flowers and the aroma. I wonder if they have any clue. I wonder if they have any clue the love that has been injected into these flowers. And hopefully these flowers will blossom and grow like that. So working as a dishwasher has given me a great amount of appreciation and perspective about, which is a counterpart of the society that I'm living in. And then now it has given me the opportunity to essentially wake up. Um, so there's, I saw this Grant Cardone. That guy's amazing. I have to say that guy is. I think it's amazing. It's amazing to me, that guy. He was beaten to a pulp with a butt of a gun. Okay, was it the butt? Apparently he was beaten to a pulp, to an inch of death, when he was like a drug addict. Uh, Somehow, I'm not sure how his brain is wired, but it seems like Eminem. Apparently, somebody threw a rock at the side of his head. Okay, and he was in the hospital for a while, and then he recovered. Okay, so some part of his brain must have been like, it must be the subconscious being like stoned to death. I think, right? There's a in the Bible. There's Stephen. Okay, there's a guy at West Side Drive-In whose name is Stephen. Stephen. Okay, his name is Stephen. He's getting his nursing degree from Boise State University. There's also a um, there's also a there's also a deacon who in the Bible, his name is Stephen. He was stoned to death. Okay, and that reminds me of, apparently you have to be it seems like you have to be beaten to death. I say that with the utmost respect. I am a convicted felon, and so I have to watch my words. I'm just tying these things together. And so it seems like you have to be beaten to the inch of death in order to get really serious and focus on the reality of whatever subject that is out there to become a professional in that particular area. And Eminem is a rapper. Um, he's good. And Grant Cardone, he has this thing called Wake Up, and it seems I saw that last night. And I looked at it, and he apparently is a he's a billionaire now. Apparently he's a billionaire. Before he was shy of billionaire, he has he has uh, he has accounts that is several billions, but his net worth was less than. But maybe he is now a billionaire uh, with it, and so he's apparently was tasked on a Discovery Channel to make himself a millionaire within 90 days, and he created this. I think what happened was he had this business transaction. This is drama, right? Discovery TV loves drama. So apparently one of the uh, one of the employees, uh, marketing portion of it, dropped a hard drive. It had a copy in it, and that's the only copy, and she dropped it. Me, being a engineer, realized dropping something 4 feet doesn't really break anything up. And so there was this intense drama that occurred, and says, "Oh my God, I didn't make a backup of it, and that's broken. Oh my God," right? That's drama. So I think now Grant Cardone is somehow that butt of a pistol must have just woken him up when he was 25 years old. Okay, so he goes and and, and so what seems to happen? I'm just I'm just extrapolating. I'm not whatever they say is the truth, but I think there is a slight possibility that the Discovery Channel producers wanted to make the challenge a little bit harder because when he bought that when he was uh, when he was attempting to buy a building which allowed him to make a $3 million profit, okay, somehow the transactions went through. It must be the Discovery Channel producers somehow communicating with the other parties to make this dramatic situation even more dramatic. Okay, and so that's what happened. That's what seems to have happened. But ultimately, he created out of scratch a thing called Wake Up Pueblo, right? He created something called Wake Up Pueblo, which is a marketing firm, uh, and uh, and it's called Wake Up, okay, Wake Up. And now, so I saw that, and then I commented on there. I said, "Hey, go Grant!" Right? Of course, no, but nobody responded back because it was a premiere that was held in his channel to revisit the time that he spent 90 days working as a incognito individual, a billionaire who gave everything up and to become a millionaire. So what's fascinating to me is that it's a wake up. It's a serious wake up to the reality of day trading. And in day trading world, I had a big lunch. In the day trading world, initially, all the people around essentially are performing the act of trading, but in a vast majority of way, 95% of the people, they don't know what they're doing. Just like Jesus Christ hanging on the cross and saying to everybody, like, I'm sure when he's hanging there, he's looking down and he's seeing the Planet of the Apes. In reality, the movie where the IQ levels are essentially the human world as of now, and these monkeys have become the dominant force of the planet. And here's Jesus Christ, and just comparing between the cognizance, the understanding, and the awareness of his existence, looking at down and saying to the world, um, forgive them because they know not what they do. And so the single stream of understanding and becoming aware of Jesus Christ is to wake up. And how best to wake up is by going to church and receiving the Lord in the form of his body and things like that. So after all this, after seeing this, and today what I did was I did paper trading and I traded Boeing and Costco. Boeing made a little bit of money based on the trade that I made, essentially looking for a dip and a rip kind of a situation. That paid out a little bit. And then as soon as I get into Costco, Costco was actually trending down for this particular day, which is about a year ago on paper. It started going down. And so what I attempted to do was anytime there was a blip up, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to do the dip and rip. And I got in, and then as soon as I got in, it would start to drip down and it would hit my stop loss. I did that 3 times, okay, the whole day. And when I looked at it at the end of the day, it was actually trending down like that, okay? And so what that told me is that when I'm looking for a particular situation, I needed to have understood the confluence surrounding that particular day for Costco and understand the specific chart patterns that I needed to see in order to make that trade to avoid those 3 stop losses. That in itself is the offense is in itself the way to avoid heavy losses uh, instead of taking defensive positions. Defensive positions have this nasty habit of bleeding out the cash, because defensive positions, when it's triggered, loss here, loss here, loss here. At the end of the day, it's a loss. However, if I take the offensive look at it, then I can look at the particular situation, identify what the situation is, identify what the possible setups that I have based on the confluence of supporting information. Is it below the VWAP? Okay, a VWAP usually tends to be a resistance or support, and that's one idea that I can use. What are the other sectors are doing on that particular day? How is the Nasdaq and the Dow behaving that day? What particular situation is being developed between the major indexes, and then how this stock is behaving in relation to that indices? Then having those connections, and where is the support and resistance based on where is the support and resistance of that stock within the daily or on the weekly and the monthly chart, and is it about to hit that point, and will I be able to see a particular reaction to that situation? And also, is the stock behaving in a way that it is respecting a particular situation, such as a trend line or support line or some sort of movement in the stock, and is it deviating from the indexes that which is essentially saying that it is actually a higher flyer or lower, which means that it's weaker or stronger based on its indices. When I look at that particular situation, then it tells me that my trading on an offensive level will be far greater than taking defensive stances to essentially to being a small loss, versus taking offensive of that particular situation to make the situation a better situation. So when I saw this, when he created this area of wake up is something that is essentially very, very close to what day trading essentially is. I can say for the past over 2 years that I've been trading, but I have been sleeping, essentially, like what I've been doing the past many days here. Washing dishes late into the night, and then attempting to trade on a scalping level is intense. It is intense. And so for me, it's intense. For other people, it may be easy. Maybe a walk in the park for them. But for me, it was a intense situation that I have finally woken up to. So the reality is now identifying, creating a portfolio. And when I looked at S&B Capital, and they have this two columns, which has confluences of supporting ideas, and I'm thinking, oh man, I'll never do that. There's no way. I was essentially a C student. When I was wrestling in high school, for Boise High School, for 1 year, my grades were pretty good. I'm not sure why. Maybe the wrestling energized me and it allowed me to understand more. But that quickly declined as the intensity increased, because I've never wrestled before that year. So now it's it's waking up, and that particular situation that I saw which correlates with what other people are saying. Essentially, when a stock is in a channel, a stock like Boeing will not stay in a channel. It will move. It will move in one or the other direction. It will not stay in that channel. It will not. There is a situation where a news will hit, something like, what's it called? Documentation something, right? FCC or something. They'll say documentation is unavailable or whatever it is, and that will cause the stock to just drop. which means it'll be in a channel and it go boom. So when that happens, identifying that situation and taking that trend based on the severity and the magnitude of the energy that is injected into the stock will define what the return I will have. So I've dabbled into dip and rip, and rip and dip seems to be the rudimentary form of day trading. It seems to me it's something that I can do without understanding what's going on. I mean, and then as long as the trend is within my way, it'll most likely form into a rewarding P&L as long. And then when the trend moves counter to my thesis, then this stop loss needs to be inserted into it to protect myself from losing all the gains that I have. And today is a prime example of the usage of the stop loss I could have taken advantage of, because it would have been a defensive move in trading Amazon today. And so Amazon literally took everything that I made within the past 3 days, which essentially is so. So when I look at that situation, I'm looking at that situation as Amazon here and Amazon here, profit and a loss, which means that if I had used the stop loss, my loss would have been small. If I had taken profit at about when it was up a few dollars, then that would have essentially been a very good trade. But essentially, the day it went out, didn't put a stop loss, it dropped below it, and it took out most of the gains that I had. In fact, all the gains that I had. So this stop loss is incredibly important. It is immeasurably important. It gives me time to reflect on it until the next day. It allows me to repair my psychology. It allows me to recover from the loss that I've incurred. And the second part of day trading that God has given me is essentially that singularly important that channel that has been created that I saw on paper trading. I saw toward the end of the day it would do this ping pong right between. But a stock like that will not stay within that narrow range of essentially that was like maybe I would say maybe 50-cent moves, and it's going to break out of that channel event some in certain direction, and certain signal will predefine the possibility, the probability of either continuing in that particular situation. And so when that happens, taking on a trade at that moment is better than buying here, ping-ponging up and down, and then seeing my P&L go up $5, up down $5, something like that, right? So this is a plethora of information that I've learned today, and I hope to use this information going forward. Now I get paid tomorrow. I think I get paid tomorrow, and when I get paid tomorrow, most likely I will purchase a FTMO account. So 10K challenge. I will buy the 10K challenge and I will implement that particular strategy. And in the meantime, I will strive to define more and more setups that will be beneficial to my trading profession. So when I identify the channel and channel breakout, it's range breakout. So range breakout. Okay, that's one that I can use. I know it now. I own it. I know what it is. S&P Capital lists many of the setups that they have, and it's not mine. I don't know what it is. It's just words. So I have to define what those words are. This is. Okay, what the heck is that? I don't know. I don't know how to trade that. Obviously, I don't know how to trade that. But if I had somebody that I can look over the shoulder and say, hey, and the guy is like play by play talking about it. Look, I'm doing this trade. Maybe I will do that one of these days. I will do a live trade, and I will clearly define what the setup is, and then how I trade it, and then what the results are based on, and then clearly define all the information that's required to, that's what I'll do. Once I become a successful, I'm going to do a live trade and record it and say, okay, this is a trade that's happening. This is what I'm expecting. This is what's going to happen. And this is the result that I have. And sometimes maybe the trade won't go on my way, but statistically speaking, the trade that I make has a higher propensity to be successful than less successful because I've done my homework. I've done my research. I know what that setup is. I know its behavior, and the chances of that stock behaving contrary to my thesis will be a smaller percentage of the overall uh, way of doing it. So now, as I've stated in the past, stocks move in a three directions: up, sideways, down. It can't go back, okay, but it goes sideways or up or down. That's essentially it. And when it moves up a little bit, then it does something in between before it makes a bigger move up. So from a day to day to day, like Meta was doing, climbing from 130 some odd dollars to now close to $300, it's been doing this and this. But in the meantime, it was going up, taking a breather, going up, taking a breather, doing something like that. Wow, it was moving up. So there are continuation patterns or reversal patterns that are occurring. So identifying that particular characteristics is going to be beneficial to my trading. Significant benefit to my trading. So I have to identify the continuation patterns within the scope of that particular stock to understand and understand the next setups that I would use. And the next setup is most likely going to be either a continuation, it's going to be a reversal, or range breakout, or channel range breakout. So these are the things that I need to be cognizant of as I become more and more sophisticated in day trading. And that sophistication is essentially what separates me from becoming a millionaire and a billionaire.